What's the most elaborate prank someone planned from their deathbed? My grandpa Arthur was dying, and he was loving every minute of it. Not the cancer part, obviously, but the fact that his 3 kids were finally paying attention to him after years of treating him like furniture. I was 22 and home from college when I started noticing something weird. Every time one of my aunts or my dad visited Arthur, they'd come out of his room with this smug look on their face, like they knew something the others didn't. Arthur had always been sharp as a knife, even at 82, but now he was playing dumb whenever more than one of his kids was in the room together. Henry, my dad, was the oldest and always acted like he deserved everything because he took care of the family business. Denise was the middle child who never missed a chance to remind everyone she was a nurse and knew what was best for Arthur's health. Paul was the baby who still lived in Arthur's basement at 45 and spent most of his time playing video games. For months, these 3 had been circling Arthur like vultures, bringing him soup he didn't want and asking about his will every 5 minutes. Arthur would just smile and change the subject, but I could see him writing stuff down in this little notebook when they weren't looking. One Tuesday, Arthur called me over to his bed and whispered, "Want to see something funny?" He showed me 5 different legal documents, all signed and notarized by different lawyers around town. Each one was a will leaving everything to a different person. "Grandpa, what the hell are you doing?" He grinned like a kid who just put glue on the teacher's chair, teaching them a lesson they should have learned 30 years ago. Arthur had been planning this for months. He'd told Henry that he was getting everything because he was the responsible one. He'd told Denise she was inheriting it all because she'd taken such good care of him. He'd told Paul he was the favorite and would get the house and money. But here's where it got really good. Arthur had also made a will leaving everything to Bob, his neighbor who'd been bringing him groceries and cutting his grass for 8 years without being asked. Bob had no idea. The night before Arthur died, he called me over one last time. "The coin collection is buried under the garden shed," he whispered, "but don't tell them that until after the lawyers are done." Arthur passed away peacefully the next morning with that same mischievous smile on his face. The funeral was awkward because Henry, Denise, and Paul all kept giving each other these knowing looks, like they each had a secret. The lawyer scheduled the will reading for the following week. That's when the real show started. The lawyer opened the first envelope and read that everything went to Denise. Henry and Paul went ballistic, screaming about how Arthur had promised them they were getting everything. Then a courier showed up with envelope number 2, time-stamped the day after the first will. This one left everything to Henry. Now Denise was losing her mind, and Paul was threatening to contest everything in court. 20 minutes later, another courier arrived with will number 3, naming Paul as the sole heir. At this point, all 3 of them were accusing each other of forging documents and bribing lawyers. Then came envelope number 4, everything to Bob, the neighbor. I thought my dad was going to have a heart attack right there in the lawyer's office. They were all yelling about how some stranger was stealing their inheritance when the final delivery arrived. A flash drive with a video message from Arthur. He was propped up in his hospital bed, looking directly into the camera with that same devilish grin. "If you're watching this, it means you 3 idiots fell for it completely," he said. "40 years I've watched you fight over my money like dogs fighting over a bone. Well, congratulations. The lake house was sold last month. The stocks were donated to the animal shelter, and Bob gets the $10,000 I had left in checking." The camera zoomed in closer to Arthur's face. "The coins you've been asking about for 20 years? They're buried under the garden shed. All 37 cents worth of them. I spent the real collection paying for this elaborate joke." My dad's face turned purple. Denise started crying. Paul just sat there with his mouth hanging open. "Bob never asked me for anything but brought me soup every Tuesday for 8 years. You 3 couldn't visit without asking when I was going to die so you could get your hands on my stuff." Arthur leaned forward in the video. "Hope it was worth it. And Paul, you're 45. Move out of my basement." Oh wait, that's Bob's basement now. None of them have spoken to each other since.